On the plus side, no one had to shift noisily or nervously in their seats. Everyone's sitting at home. So I guess that's positive. Apologies for that. And Moadim l'simcha to everyone. This is the first and hopefully the last time that I'm ever giving a drasha inside of our shul where there's not a soul in the room. But I feel your presence online. And even though it's a Thursday night and it's Chol Moed Pesach, for those who are not yet able to come back to shul, I hope this will, at least for the time being, help you to feel that we are connected, to know that we're connected. We're connected as a shul. Tonight, there was a Mincha Marav Minyan here. It had, in the order of the limit is 50 on the men's side and 40 on the women's side. And we're just approaching the limits. The last few nights, in fact, we were well over the limits. As such, we're blessed to be able to have what we do have the first days of Yontif, 6 different minyanim. And I want to be makir tov, especially the Sharon family, for hosting the minyan in their yard. I want to share some thoughts with you tonight in advance of Yizkor for your consideration now on Pesach 5781 before we recite Yizkor tonight. There will also, of course, be Yizkor in person on Achron Shlo Pesach, and you're welcome to join that as well. There was a study done in August, released in August of 2016, that was actually right here done at the Woolsey Institute for Genomic Biology at the University of Illinois. It was a study about elephants, and it described that elephants in Africa, those that actually roam the savannah, have almost identical DNA to elephants who are found in Namibia on the west coast of Africa. Even though their DNA matches, the Namibian desert-dwelling elephants have somehow figured out a way to prevent overheating in the triple-digit temperatures that they find themselves in by covering their bodies with sand, which, among other methods, they wet their skin and their hide with regurgitated water from a pouch beneath their tongue that holds many gallons of water. And these elephants also then teach this skill to the younger elephants who live with them in the Namibian desert. In other words, it's not instinctive. It is something that is learned, taught, transmitted. Further, the Namibian elephants also have an uncanny ability to remember. We always say elephants remember, but what do they have to remember? They have to remember the location of scarce water and food resources across their home ranges, which are unusually large compared to that of other elephants. And they play a critical role in this arid ecosystem by creating paths and digging water holes. And the danger with regard to the preservation of Namibian elephants is that this is not part of their encoding as creatures created by Hashem. It's not part of their DNA. They're identical to other elephants that roam the savannah, predominantly in the Serengeti. The difference is that they have a Masorah. They can pass from one generation to the next the basic teachings for survival. We also have basic teachings for survival. The Gemara in Masachet Shabbat asks, what would someone do if they woke up and found themselves in the midbar, in the desert, in the wilderness, and they don't know what day it is? Amar Rav Huna, hayamahalach b'derech o b'midbar, ve'enu yodea ematai Shabbat. The person doesn't know when it is Shabbat. Moneh shisha yamim u'meshamer yom echad. The person, according to the first opinion, Rav Huna, the opinion here is the person should actually count the 6 days that they find themselves in. Whatever they woke up, that's day 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then, and then on the last day, they'll keep that last, the 7th day from when they came to in the desert, when they gain track of time again, they should keep a day of Shabbos. Chia bar Rav Omer, Mishamer Yom Echad Umoneh Shisha. The other opinion maintains that first you keep Shabbos, the day you wake up is Shabbos, and then you should count another 6 days. So what's the machloket between these two opinions? So you woke up in the desert, you don't know where you are. How do you keep Shabbos? Count 6 days, the seventh day is Shabbat. Or you woke up, today is Shabbat, and then 6 more days. Says the Gemara, Mar Savar Kibriyato Shel Olam. The first opinion maintains it's like the creation of the world. When you woke up, the world was created anew. That's Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Go through all the days till you get to Shabbat. The other opinion says that you need to act ka'adam harishon, like the first humans. What were the first humans? They were created erev Shabbat, and therefore the first day they experienced was right away they were brought into Shabbat. Therefore, the idea of keeping Shabbat when you're knocked off balance is to assume the first day is Shabbat and then to move for the next 6 days. The Avnei Nezer, quoted by the Or Gedalia, points out that this discussion about these two possibilities are actually two aspects of what we're meant to take from Shabbat. Is Shabbat the end, the climactic end to the 6 days of creation? And therefore, it gathers all of the elements of the 6 days of creation. And therefore, count 6 days, and the seventh day you should commemorate as Shabbat. But at the same time, Shabbat is also the day that gives us the strength for the days that are coming after it. It's like Adam Harishon, Chava Em Kol Chai in the Garden of Eden with the reprieve for 25 hours of Shabbat. And then they have to go out into exile for the 6 days that are coming up afterward. The Sfarim teach in the name of the Rabbi Reb Shmelka that when Chazal say in the Gemara Masechet Shabbat, if the Jewish people would just keep 2 Shabbatot, they would automatically be redeemed. You have to observe 2 Shabbatot. The first Shabbat is the Shabbat that should give the strength for the days coming. And then the second Shabbat can arrive. The second Shabbat will come from the strength of the first Shabbat, and the two form bookends. Says Rav Gedalia Shor, Pesach, according to the Medrash, is actually bookended by 2 days that are each called Shabbat. The first day of Pesach, the first day of the Chag, is itself known as Shabbat. We're in the middle of Sfirat HaOmer, Usfartem lachem imochorat haShabbat. And therefore, we have the beginning of Pesach is a Shabbat. At the same time, the last day of Shabbat, of Pesach, the seventh day, Chazal say, the day coming up now, the day of Shvi'i Shel Pesach, the tomorrow night, Friday night, and Shabbat day, when we'll be reading the Torah portion of the Exodus, arriving now from the time period of the Exodus. Now it's Exodus plus 7, arriving at Yam Suf in the Kriyat Yam Suf. And Rav Gedalia Shor says that this is the dual message of Pesach as well. The beginning of Pesach was the opportunity to experience a Shabbat which began with great rescue. It didn't involve our movement very much. It all came from above. Dafka, the goal was to stay at home and to be inside and to be circumspect in one's actions other than the observance of the mitzvah of Korban Pesach. And God took care of everything outside. But then began the long trek. Day 1, day 2, day 3, all the way up. And then on day 7 was already the next aspect of the Shabbat, the part where we need to walk through a midbar in order to get there to a destination. It's risky. It's outside our comfort zone, if you will. But we go forward because we trust in God. When we think about this idea, the notion that Shabbat has 2 aspects. The aspect that, as it were, starts off, Pesach is a Shabbat-like experience, and that it culminates as well. We have an extra day in Chutz La'aretz, but actually in Eretz Yisrael, it's only a 7-day holiday. The Torah is 7 days. The 7th day is, in fact, also a form of a Shabbat. And the two are bookends. For all those who are lost in the midbar of life, once a year we come back to Pesach, and we experience in the microcosm of a 7-day period, those 2 Shabbatot, the Shabbat as the start and the Shabbat as the finish. Consider that everyone has gone to 2 Seders. last year, we could say it was, for some, the best of Seders, and for others, the worst of Seders. For some, last year was an opportunity to be able to focus just on the immediate family at home. I heard from many younger parents that to sit just with their kids, they miss their older relatives, they miss their relatives who live out of town. But the ability just to focus as if it was just a regular night, but yet it was such a special night, was something they had not experienced before. And for other people, it was the worst of Seders. The Rambam writes that if someone is, God forbid, alone for Pesach, they have to ask themselves the manishtana. And I remember in years past saying out loud in shiurim and in drashot, that never actually happened in Jewish history. Can never say that again. For some, it was a terrible time. This year, now, we experience what I would call two Seders. For some people, they said, Hashata Hacha. This year, I am still right here. And for others, they felt that we feel that we are already B'nai Chorin. Some people are still saying Hashta Avdei. I still feel a prisoner of circumstance, and I need to take heed and take care of myself and my loved ones by being still circumspect. And for others, it's already an aspect of the L'Shana Haba'ah. These two Seders, I would argue, are related also to these two aspects of every Pesach, where we are at once carried, so to speak, in the palm of God's hand, protected, but also having to stay home, having to be circumspect, unable to venture outside, and at the exact same time, in the same 7-day span, to be asked to consider what it would mean to move to the next step if it was safe to do so. We will read songs over this next holiday. There will be the Shirat Hayam, the song at the sea. This is a song that comes from on high. How else, the Gemara says, did all the people mysteriously all know how to sing the lyrics of a song they had never heard before, let alone sung? It's obvious, it's apparent, the Gemara says, they all had an element of prophecy. Everyone could point, everyone knew, this is my God, and I will beautify him. The other song we will read on Shabbat, the Shir Hashirim, the 7th day of Pesach this year, not Shabbat Chol HaMoed, is one that is not characterized by an awakening from above where God does everything, but rather it is a book written by a person who is searching, seeking HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the allegory of a loving relationship that in so many ways has more to do with the pursuit, the looking, the seeking of each other than it does with the actual arrival at the moment of connection. The beautiful maiden is seeking her lover in the streets in the dead of night. She asks the people, have you seen him? For I am lovesick. And that song is a song about striving. Every Shabbat, we experience the admixture of both themes of Shabbat. We call it the other aspect of our world. We say that it is me'ein olam haba. It is a taste of the world to come. We all live at two Seders all year long. There's the Seder of the Olam Hazeh, the order of this world, and the Seder of the Olam Haba of the next world. On Shabbat, the two themes blend. It's me'ein olam haba. We get a taste of what the world would be like in a future time. We try to eat good foods and we rest. And also we have time to think a little bit away from the noise of media, away from the noise of the pressures of our lives, just for a brief period to dream dreams. I mentioned at the end of my second Seder this year that I was very disappointed last Pesach. I had high hopes that things were shifting in the world. I had great disappointment that it was not yet to be. Ben Nisan nigalu avatena ben Nisan atidim ligael. In Nisan were our forefathers redeemed. In Nisan are we slated to be redeemed. Yes, disappointment, but also hopefully some of us were able to glean a little bit of a vision of what it will look like. As Rabbi Usher Weiss pointed out, we say in Aleinu Shebech every day, Ki l'chatichra kol berach. There will be a point at which every knee will bend to you, Hashem. Not because of force, not military reasons, just because they acknowledge that you, God, exist, that you, God, have a role for each of us, and you hold us to account, and also that you want the best for us. Ki l'chatichra kol berach, that actually was transpiring last year as we were going to the run-up to Pesach. You can call me naive, and perhaps I am naive. But I saw Tchiyat HaMeitim, a resuscitation of the dead. Many, many cynical people who suddenly rediscovered in the moment of the crucible, rediscovered their latent emuna pshuta, their basic faith in God. I saw people flex their tefillah muscles that maybe had atrophied over a period of time. The sense of mitzvot al nashim melumada, that mitzvot are no more than rote, suddenly went by the wayside as people picked up sidurim and were calling and emailing and texting, what can I daven now? People asking, how can I help now? People wondering, is this the harbinger of something great? I'm not a prophet. I'm not the child of prophets. I may be descended, as we all are, of those prophets who sang a song at the sea. But this is the season, friends, where we dream great dreams, where we experience both aspects of Shabbat. The Shabbat that Hashem reaches down and scoops us up, and the Shabbat that we have to walk through the wilderness to get to. As we gather tonight and will now recite Yizkor, I ask you to dream the impossible dream. The people who we love, who appear sometimes in our dreams, or certainly are in the images in our mind's eye, who we miss so terribly. The Gemara teaches that when the Torah says, Az Yashir Moshe V'nei Yisrael Shira Zot, when it says that Moshe and the Jewish people sang this song, the Torah does not use the word shar, but uses the word yashir, will sing. Mikan remez l'tchiyat hameitim min haTorah, that our foundational belief as Jews, that the people who have lost, we will someday see again in this world, emerging of the Olam Haba and the Olam Hazeh, defies our rational understanding. But it is exactly the Masorah, the transmission ages old, that continues to animate our sense of vision, our dreams, and our hopes for the future. It is this that has been taught from one generation to the next. V'hi she'amda lavotenu v'lanu. For those who are still in the first aspect of Pesach, of a Shabbos, that they're still at home, they still feel that it's not the right time to leave, I urge you, please, to recall that for every other question, you would consult experts. Please, if you have been vaccinated, you were zocher to be vaccinated, please ask your doctor and get a medical opinion about the potential safety of venturing out again. For the people who are venturing out, should recognize that you're walking a walk that still requires vigilance, even right now, and that both Pesachs are going to be required. The Pesach at the beginning, the Shabbos at the beginning, the Shabbos at the end, the two bookends of Pesach as two Shabbatot, which bracket beginning and ending of this holiday, which in and of itself is the Seder of this world, but is also meant for us to project for the Seder of the next world, that Im Yirtzeh Hashem we will all be zochim to. Yehi Ratzon that this is the last Pesach that we are not all together, and Yehi Ratzon that this is the last Pesach that we have to be in Galut. Sounds like a naive dream. This is the dream of the ages. These are the words of the prophets, and this is what has brought us to this point. We're going to continue now with the Yizkor. Before we do that, I want to put on the screen to share with you the names of the members of our congregation who we have loved, continue to love. They've left the world, and we try to remember them each year during Yizkor. I'm going to put it on the screen just for a couple of minutes so that people can focus on it and just to think about them and their legacy and what they continue to mean to all of us here at our shul. Now, highlighted in yellow, unfortunately, are the members of the shul have passed away since we last recited Yizkor. Tehei nishmatem tzrura b'tzura chaim.